It's Friday the 21st of the 2nd, 2025, and there is F1 news, a very many F1 centric thread at which we need to pull. Three topics on the docket this morning. We need to talk about Ferrari. We need to talk about the interview that Charles Leclerc and Sir Lewis Hamilton have given to the official F1.com YouTube channel, Lawrence Burrito. In there, they've talked about circumstances, staying up late, getting no sleep the first day of SF25 testing. So too, Charles Leclerc has talked about a change in his driving style. And I think for 2025, that has to matter. We'll talk about Mohammed Ben Sulayem and some of his statements. Bring back V10s. Blink twice, MBS, if you are in trouble, sir, because that doesn't even sound like him. Statements written by ghostwriters any. So too will we talk about Maximilian Verstappen and Red Bull and their war against FIA. Let's get techie. Ferrari, the boys and girls over there, have given an interview. We find out that Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton landed at 4 a.m. at Fiorano. Oh, the humanity. Surely that doesn't smack of efficiency per se. How are Charles going to land at 4 a.m. and be in the car by 9 a.m.? That doesn't speak to getting the best out of a testing session. That speaks to Ferrari and their logistical inefficiency, if you ask me. No sleep, 2.5 hours is what Lewis Hamilton said that he got. He said that he and Charles Leclerc stayed up, continued to play chess. This is Karpov and Kasparov again, extending the game that they were playing during the F1 75 livery launch. Lest we forget, Charles was first in the car, but Lewis was there too. Could have done a Nigel Mansell right and gone off and played golf, gone off and topped up on his sleep, but he didn't. So Lewis was there in person supporting Charles Leclerc, and that speaks to camaraderie per se. No love, some would say, between Charles Leclerc and Sir Lewis Hamilton, and indeed that bodes well. Charles Leclerc spoke to, and I want to play this clip for you. Roll the clip, Cameron.
As you said, it's been a bit of a shift of mentality after 23, where I was never accepting the fact that we were not fast enough to win. And so sometimes you just try and do a miracle, but that sometimes will happen, but also sometimes will end up not, and I will lose quite a few points. And after 23, I was like, okay, maybe I've got to change a little bit the way I approach a season. And whenever it's the days where you've got to take the...
We go again.
As you said, it's been a bit of a shift of mentality after 23, where I was never accepting the fact that we were not fast enough to win. And so sometimes you just try and do a miracle, but that sometimes will happen, but also sometimes will end up not well, and I will lose quite a few points. And after 23, I was like, okay, maybe I've got to change a little bit the way I approach a season. And whenever it's the days where you've got to take the points that are available, you've got to take them. And I think in 24, these have been achieved very well. And when I look back at my season, there's been very little, if any, missed opportunities. And on that, I'm very happy, and I'll definitely try and reproduce that. And then if we have the car from the first race to the last race, then I'm pretty sure we can have a shot to try and win the world title, which is obviously my ultimate dream.
Oh, the humanity. You know why that matters? Because it's a paradigm shift as far as modern day journalism, aka Charles Leclerc, drives. Speak to any Charles Leclerc fans and they will say that his gift is in that he pushes so hard, 10 tenths each and every single lap, reminiscent of, I don't know, Gilles Villeneuve, say. But with that type of driving style has come mistakes, and we on this channel, not sacrificing true value nor objectivity at the altar of partisanship, have called him out for that. Hence the moniker modern day Jean Alazy, yeeting it to the barrel famously at France, giving away a bag full of points famously at Imola, yeeting it into the barrier as near as makes no difference every single Monaco Grand Prix. Now, however, it sounds like Charles Leclerc is trending, doing what so many have challenged him to do, become his final form, his final self, Neo in the Matrix, by trending the mistakes of the unforced variety down to zero. How and why is he doing that? Well, because he's tapering it back. No, 9 tenths instead of 10 tenths. I feel like this is revolutionary for Charles Leclerc and Ferrari going forward. Why? Because that's the door that he needed to unlock, even, excuse me, to get to the bloody championship. If he can continue the form that he showed in 2024 Houston, as far as the other 19, we have a problem. I have to retire the bloody modern day journalist moniker, eh? Rafa, Genie. Gonna get techie. Go on then, let me show you this Mohammed bin Sulayem. Ghostwriter settings. Here's what he said in an official FIA statement, and I'm going to read this out verbatim. It's bloody important. This week's F1 launch in London has triggered a lot of positive discussion on the future of the sport. While we look forward to the introduction of the 2025-2026 regulations even on chassis and power units, we must also lead the way on future technological motorsport trends. Calm. We should consider a range of directions, including the roaring sound of the V10 running on sustainable fuel. So let me ask you a couple of questions. Does that even sound like Mohammed bin Sulayem talking? Doesn't to me. That sounds like he's got Drake's ghostwriter into pen that. He's winning fans in real time, right? I think on the back of the boost that the FIA got at the F175 livery launch, I think he's now trying to curry favour, goodwill settings, because there are a gazillion F1 fans who have been waiting, dying for news like that. Bring back V10s. There is a podcast, an eponymous podcast. Like, do it. Do it, Mohammed bin Sulayem. There's no need for argument or discussion. Just do it. But again, I don't think that these words are coming out of his mouth. He continues, whichever direction is chosen, we must support the teams and manufacturers in ensuring cost control on R&D and expenditure. Touche, sir. Although we can argue that. I think a lot of fans would rather see V10s and £500 million a year pummeled back into the sport by dint of the teams, if indeed you had a choice. You know what I mean? He continues, delivering for our members and fans will always be at the heart of all we do. Okay, so here's where I need to go scorched earth, yeah? What? But as a function of doing your job, instituting for the rules in a way that's consistent across related parties. That's what we're talking about there, yeah? Delivering for fans, since we're the regulatory body, yeah? What? He's done nothing of the sort for the past 3 years. Can't even tell when there's full starts. Gets it wrong at each and every single turn and juncture. Worthy of note, of material consequence. So what's he talking about here? Transparency. Meantime, anytime anybody wants to investigate him, they get sacked. Sacking and getting rid of all the serious people that have challenged him. We need to control cost, yet he's jet setting around the world on his PJ. But yeah, pull the other one, mate. There was once a man called Hippocrates. What are we doing here? Delivering for our members and fans will always be at the heart of all we do, alongside important work to make the sport safer and more sustainable for decades to come, ensuring future generations can enjoy F1. It's a nice statement, that. It is a nice statement, but when you peel beneath the surface, I think there's something else going on. Lest we forget that not long ago, less than 48 hours ago, there was a F175 livery launch, and in there it got techie. Christian and Max Verstappen got booed. Now you can pull at the root cause of that. Maybe people were thinking about 2021. Maybe people are bored of a champion in Max Verstappen who has won back to back to back to back. It happened before, right? Michael Schumacher was hated. People just wanted to see a different champion, much in the same way Lewis Hamilton became hated on the back of his 3 championships, back to back to back, 7-time GOAT settings. People like change as far as sport's concerned. So maybe that had something to do with the reason why the crowd at the F175 livery launch were booing Max Verstappen, Christian Horner for obvious reason, misconduct gate, pantomime villain settings. But in there lies another narrative and plot, because you heard the FIA reaction that they weren't too pleased at the British crowd booing Red Bull and Christian Horner, and therefore Maximilian Verstappen. Why? Because Mohammed bin Sulayem likes to be around winners now. He wants to be there to support the ones who are front and centre at each and every single juncture. Being, in this case, if recency bias is a thing, Max and Christian Horner. He phones Max Verstappen to consult him before making a decision. We know that because Christian Horner has told us that. Max and Christian, however, aren't necessarily reciprocating in this love and respect and rapport, are they? How do we know? Well, here's how we know. Over the past couple of months, a couple of things have happened. Max Verstappen said he didn't even want to attend the F175 launch. He doesn't want to give the FIA massage, nor does he want to participate in their nonsense. He said it would be good to have stewards. Some of this is nonsense. Mohammed bin Sulayem wants to institute for expletive gate, 1 race ban potentially on the 3rd offence. We've already seen in rallying they've been getting fined. Dudes, guys and girls that can't afford to pay these fines. Max Verstappen isn't having that. He thinks it's a bit stupid. He said that kids are going to go to school and swear anyway. So what are you doing? This is nonsense. You saw them give him a 20-second fine last year at Mexico and or Cota. And he said 20 seconds. Is that all? That's quite generous. Why didn't they give me 30? He's going to get techie for them next year. And I don't think Red Bull are pulling any punches as far as their relationship with the FIA. So too, if you want your Exhibit Z, the race ban, imminent for Maximilian Verstappen. Why? Because he's got 8 points on his super license going into 2025. He only needs 12. So an incremental 4 points on his super license, and that means a 1 race ban for Max Verstappen, who's going to be fighting tooth and nail for a championship of the drivers' variety this year. That would be of material consequence for everyone, not just Max Verstappen, for F1 fans all around the world who want to see a levelling of the competitive landscape. Somebody keep Max Verstappen honest for 24 races, a close championship therefore. Flexi-wing gate too. Here's your Exhibit Z 1.0. Flexi-wing gate. These guys have been having conversations about the amendments, the adjustments to the load test that determines whether the Flexi-wing is within regulation or infringes upon it. This has been going on for a while now. Christian Horner, desperate to get the McLaren Flexi-wing banned last year, lobbied as hard as he could. The FIA refused to listen, did one of these. Why? Because they needed a close championship. And instrumental, pivotal to that is having Lando Norris in ostensibly the quicker car. They realised this, and so that's why they did one of these. Tom Biasis was asked, are you going to change the load test? They said absolutely not. The load test works and crops out any Flexi wings. It did not. McLaren was still leveraging the mini DRS. So too the Flexi front wing since Miami. Christian Horner looked at that and said, what are we doing here? What is this sports entertainment? Or is this a sport proper? Are we trying to get the eyes of casuals, or are we trying to keep the purists who have been here since BC? What are we doing here? Because if it's a sport proper, you put the load test in to make sure that Flexi-wing cannot be a thing. Go and watch Monza. I've said it a gazillion times, but I'll reiterate for the avoidance of doubt. The Flexi-wing on Lando Norris's car on the onboard at the Italian Grand Prix in quali was chaos. The outboard portion of that front wing was doing one of these almost orthogonal 90 degrees perpendicular to its foundational plane. It is chaos. Flexi-wing, if you've ever seen such a thing. Christian Horner, because Red Bull didn't have the financial resource to develop their own bespoke rear wing and their own flexible front wing, could not develop one. Hence, they were fighting a battle with Lando Norris, a fire-breathing dragon, I'll have you know, and McLaren with one aerodynamic hand behind their back. Now they've been plotting revenge, building their own Flexi-wing, only for the FIA to say, as at race 9, the Spanish Grand Prix, we will be changing the load test. Christian Horner saying, hang on a second, what are you talking about? You said that the load test was cool last year, so why now change it as we're going into 2025? Why are we doing a 2-tier championship? There'll be 9 races, and then the remaining ones with a different set of Flexi-wing rules. This makes no sense, Jason. You're an absolute legend. It's a privilege, and I'm grateful ad infinitum. Why would you do such a thing? Again, this is the FIA being consistently inconsistent, and Red Bull, no, Christian Horner, team principal, is calling them out on it. What are we doing here, chat? Honest, non-rhetorical question as we round third base. Do we want ourselves a sport, or do we want sports entertainment? Because I don't think those two things are mutually exclusive. How many of those races last year would McLaren have won with Lando Norris if indeed they'd fixed for the load test and banned Flexi wings when they were supposed to at Miami, let's say? Not many. or not at least not as many as they did win, and therein lies the problem. That's why Christian Horner is a fire-breathing dragon as far as all things FIA, notwithstanding the fact that Mohammed bin Sulayem is kicking, doing everything he can to foster rapport with the bulls that are red in real time. That sentiment, however, chat, is not reciprocated. 2025, Mohammed bin Sulayem, it is your move, sir.